All right, here we go, baby. Thirsty Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes. Lend us an ear. Maddie Meiselman is here, baby. It's a Thursday edition of the Slate. Hello, Winifred. How goes it, young lady? I told you I would bring the dog content. I just need you to bring all the NBA and NHL stuff. All right, that's some hardcore tongue punching. Why don't you just relax there? How you doing today, by the way?
I am pretty good. I was at my parents' house with all of our dogs, and I left to go to my place. I didn't know this was going to be the dog. Like, I could have just stayed home. We could have recorded from there, and we could have had from both ends of this thing with just dogs everywhere. But I guess
it's a couple dudes making out with dogs. Yeah, that's exactly what the Slate is. It's slowly what it's becoming. More dog guys that join us, but it is good to have you here. I'm not typically on Thursdays, but decided to step it up, put this company on my back like I typically do. It's what the highest paid employee at DraftKings should do. But it's good to have producer Eamon with us today. AC on the ones and twos as well. We have you here. You have some insider information ahead of Game 5 between the Rangers and the Lightning that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But first, you being a big Celtics guy, I mean, good Lord, you probably had to take a cold shower after what you witnessed last night.
That's it. It's an interesting reference because I actually take quite a lot of cold showers. That has nothing to do with the Celtics or any of what you're alluding to at all. Actually, it's just
interesting.
Coincidentally, I just like that a lot. Yes, I'm very excited, as you're saying, very excited about the Celtics so far. I got quite nervous there in the third quarter when the Warriors actually took the lead. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on, but maybe we can get into this Warriors third quarter trend thing that, I don't really believe in that sort of stuff generally. And now we've seen it 3 games in a row. We've seen it throughout Warriors playoff runs in past years. So maybe the Celtics can start making some adjustments around it. Maybe they don't have to though, because they won it easily anyway.
Yeah, because you saw the Warriors make an incredible adjustment in Game 2, but then you saw Ime kind of answer back and do the same thing last night. But like Boston, like bullying, like bumping and battling its way to a win at home there in Game 3. Now have a 2-1 series lead. And yeah, they held off Golden State's trademark third quarter surge, and eventually wore them down. Like, as you're watching that game last night, what do you think the biggest reason was for the Celtics winning that thing? You had the three-headed monster, like the big three combining for 77 points, I think it was. But then you can't ignore what the Williams brothers did. Not really brothers, but you get it.
No, Robert Williams is just, when he's playing well, oh my God, it's so much fun to watch.
And Grant Williams too, And
he had one of his better games, his best game of the series for sure. He had become a bit of a non-factor. I guess he's not as important matchup wise as he was against more physical teams like Miami and Milwaukee. And also when the Celtics were shorthanded in those rounds, they needed him more. So it was nice to see him step up again too. And really there's like 10 reasons why the Celtics won. To me, the most important one really is that they are the better team. I expect them 100%. To win most of the time they play the Warriors, and they didn't have to deal with the nonsense of the officiating with letting Draymond Green do whatever he wanted. Like, the game, I don't know that it was perfectly fairly called. There was at least one questionable call on Steph Curry where I was like, man, they kind of got away with one there. But otherwise, I thought it was pretty even. And it's not like Curry's foul trouble cost him too many minutes anyway. He still played 37. I don't know how much more than 37 he was going to play anyway. So foul trouble wasn't a huge factor. But the Celtics made the 2 adjustments early that we talked about earlier this week. I was on the Slate with Chirag and with Glash, and we talked about, could they just please stop playing Daniel Tice? Like, I'm sure he's a wonderfully nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
And he is an important depth piece to have during the regular season when Horford needs to play less minutes and Robert Williams was dealing with a knee injury and he actually was missing tons of time having the surgery. Having Tice then was very important, but specifically in this matchup, he's too slow to help out on the screens on Curry. So the adjustment I was hoping they would make was just stop playing him, go smaller, play more White, play more Grant Williams, hopefully more Robert Williams. I know that's kind of out of their hands because they need his knee to respond, but all of it came together. Tice didn't see the floor, and that was excellent. And then the Celtics made the other adjustment that it does seem like they do whenever they're struggling a bit and it's coming off a loss, is they play with more pace. Like they just start accelerating. They try to get out in transition. We don't get these late shot clock heaves that sometimes happen when they get really stagnant. So they didn't play tight, and maybe, it sort of goes hand in hand with this. They played faster. They played with a lot more energy and intensity.
Oh, and they were physical. They're physical as hell. I think they pulled down 16 more rebounds than the Warriors as well. And there's something about like the Celtics too at home when they get off to those hot starts, like we saw in that ridiculous game against the Heat, where the Heat had like 1 point with like 2 minutes to go in like the first quarter. But like they've done a good job for the most part of getting off to these hot starts. And they've also, Maddie, done a really good job at bouncing back after a loss in the postseason. But so have the Warriors. The Warriors are another team. I believe they're 5-0 this postseason, coming off a loss. So like we see like tomorrow night, the Celtics are going to be 4-point favorites at home right now. I mean, like which way are you leaning here? Because we had the boys on this morning. We had Waylon on, we had Fryer on, we had Jeff Pratt on this morning, and there doesn't seem to be one guy who's really siding with the Warriors right now, especially Steph Curry. I know he avoided some major damage, didn't have to have an MRI, but a lot's going to fall on him as well and his health.
Yeah, this is kind of unpredictable. I feel like a lot of this final series is unpredictable. Some of it's health, right? Like Curry's foot could be a big factor. If he's 80%, if Curry is 20% worse than normal, like the Warriors are done because they don't have the depth that Boston does. Like Tatum's playing banged up. He's playing through the shoulder injury, but like he can just pass to other players, and they have so many guys that can score. I know Clay and Poole can, but no one's like Curry. He's a special player, and he needs to be able to be running at full capacity for the Warriors to keep up with the Celtics. So I'm uncertain about Steph, and then I'm uncertain about the officiating. Like that's really, I hate to talk about refs. I really do, because like we're guessing most of the time, and we don't like to insinuate that games are fixed in any capacity. And I don't think they are, but there's something to be said for the refs psychologically wanting a longer series. And I worry that in game 4, the refs are going to be less favorable to the Celtics because the Warriors can then even up the series and ensure that it goes at least 6 games. So my biggest fear for the Celtics really in game 4 is that the officiating doesn't go their way. But at the same time, they have home court advantage. I think if anything, the crowd is going to be louder. It's going to be a Friday night. The Warriors in their post-game press conferences, so obnoxious. So
they're complaining left and right about what do they say? I mean, I know they're being sarcastic, like Steve Kerr and Draymond Green about the classy, like Boston fans. It's typical, like sports fan stuff, especially when you get to a hostile environment like TD Garden is, and in the NBA Finals, for crying out loud. I can't believe how much they're moaning and groaning about this.
It's really weird, honestly. Like, I don't know if it's because they have nothing else to talk about because they played so poorly, or they really genuinely feel like this is a problem. I mean, these guys have been in the NBA a long time. These are veterans who have been playing in playoff series for like a decade now. They've seen this before. Like, this is not new for the Golden State Warriors. So it is strange. But ultimately for game 4, I think the Celtics should win. I don't necessarily want to lay the 4 points, though. I just think it's kind of a fair line. Like maybe it should be 5. If I were making the line, I might put it at 5. But that's not enough. Like I think it comes in. The Celtics, I think, win a close game, if I had to guess.
Okay.
So I don't really have a lean on the spread. I was much more confident about game 3, not just because they were coming off a loss, but also because now the Warriors are coming off a loss, and the motivation could be enhanced there. We'll see how Robert Williams' knee responds with the day off. We'll see how Curry's foot looks. Warm-ups could be telling, but I do think the Celtics are in great shape to win the series. I think they should
100%.
win this game, but I wasn't shocked at all to see the Celtics win by 16 in game 3. I would be pretty shocked to see them repeat that in game 4. I think it'll be a closer game, even if the Celtics do wind up winning it.
Yeah, dude, because I'm thinking like there's nothing about Golden State, like watching these first 3 games. To me, there's nothing about Golden State beyond its legacy here that really convinces me to want to take them as an underdog in game 4. And like Boston took Golden State's like third quarter haymaker last night and kept fighting, kept coming forward, like winning with hustle and heart and championship, in this championship round. So like that perfectly showed me why they are the heavy favorites. Like what, minus, I think 240 it is to win this series on the DK Sportsbook.
Yeah. So let's see. I'll take my screen over there because we can pivot to the,
You said you got some like future stuff too, you like, right?
Yeah, so
Like,
we'll talk about this, and then some future
Okay.
player props I think are interesting. And the finals MVP too, I think is still, there's a conversation there, but
100%.
I will say, I think this is the least undervalued I think this is the right way of saying it. This is the least undervalued the Celtics have been in the series now. Where so just to clarify, the Celtics were like plus 130 before game 1 to win the series. And I thought they should have been like minus 130 at least. So there was a huge divide. And before game 2 was basically a pick 'em. I thought the Celtics should have been minus 180 or so to win the series at that point. So still a huge divide. Now they're minus 240. I think the market is kind of caught up, where maybe they should be like minus 280 to minus 300, which percentage wise is not as big of a gap. Like, I think as the series progresses, the odds are starting to align better with what they should be, which is the Celtics are the much better team. So I still think you actually could lay the minus 240 and it's not a bad bet. I think they're still a little undervalued. It's not as exciting as before, obviously. But I think my favorite bet is just taking Tatum to win finals MVP.
Really?
Like, I don't really understand why Jaylen Brown's odds went from, he was 9-1 before game 3, and now we have him at plus 350. And he was great in the first quarter, but I think we can agree Tatum was the Celtics' best player, or at least it was close. Like, the movement for Brown seems to be under accounting for Tatum's passing. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. Where I think the Celtics should win the series, and I think Tatum has been so good in terms of all-around basketball that I don't care that Brown is scoring slightly more than him. Tatum's been so good defensively, and he's been so good passing the ball that I still think he is massively the favorite to win this Finals MVP award.
Okay, but like Jaylen Brown's in the conversation now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because these are some numbers we had this morning on the Sweat, and I know you weren't with us this morning, but so let's see. Curry and Tatum, they entered last night as plus 100 and plus 115 favorites to win MVP. Now those odds, as we can see on the screen, 105, plus 205 there for Curry. And the guys were saying this morning, absolutely, Jaylen Brown is in the conversation. It's not so much a two-man race anymore because Brown was at plus 900, right? Is that what you just said? And I think he's now at plus 350.
Yeah. So to give Shirag and to give Glash some credit, they were saying Brown at plus 900 was appealing, and I didn't really agree with them. So yeah, they clearly have been validated to some extent because Brown is now odds-wise in the conversation. I thought, maybe there was between a 5 and 10% chance Brown could win it before that game. And now I think it's like 15 to 20%. Like, he's live, much more live than Marcus Smart. And sadly for me, Al Horford, who I thought was before the series at 90-1 was like my favorite bet ever for finals MVP. And he had the great game 1, but he hasn't scored as much since then. So it's not going to be Horford. It's probably not going to be Smart. If the Warriors win, it's going to be Curry for sure, like we talked about right before.
Yeah, which would be his first finals MVP. That's that's been the one storyline with him. That's why ESPN has just honed in on this guy and like pregame warmups every night. Like, oh my God, the only thing he's missing is his finals MVP. Doesn't need a finals MVP to I guess firm up his resume, his legacy.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Maybe I have stopped watching as much ESPN because the commentary just bothers me. It's too pro Warriors. But Curry has not won a finals MVP. That's true.
No, he has not. He has not won a finals MVP. It's like the one thing he hasn't done. I mean, I think it was like Durant, like most of the time.
And Andre Iguodala got the random MVP, the one.
Yeah. So that's the one. That's the one thing he's really missing.
Yeah. So I do think Brown's live, but I don't think he's a good bet at plus 350. I don't think he's live enough to take that now, but I do think Tatum is. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, Brown can win, but his odds should be a bit longer. And I think also, we should expect Tatum to start scoring a bit more. Like, the Warriors can't keep doubling him and letting him find open guys. They're going to have to make an adjustment. And I think because of that, Tatum probably scores more points.
I mean, so damn, dude, I didn't realize Brown was actually the leading scorer here in the finals for the Celtics. Also at rebounder as well, with nearly 7.5 per game in the finals, which kind of takes you to a prop you were mentioning before the show, how some of the future, in the props markets are more kind of set. You kind of have an idea of what direction it's going to win. You're thinking the rebound leader here, right? Yeah. Is completely up in the air.
Yeah, so I have the points leader up first just to illustrate this. Tatum has not scored at the level we would have expected coming into the series. Like before the series, it was basically Curry was like minus 120 to be the points leader, and Tatum was like plus 130. It was pretty close. And at this point, Curry's got like 29 more points, I think, than Tatum does. Curry's going to win that unless he misses a game, which doesn't seem like he's going to. So that's why Curry's 20-1. This award is over. But then just to quickly show assists, the reason I think Tatum is being underrated for the MVP is because looking like Tatum was plus 650 to lead the finals in assists, and now he's minus 650. Like he has so far exceeded expectation passing the ball in this series so far. Like no one expected him to have a 13 assist game and a 9 assist game in the first of the series.
And I think that in that 13 one was huge because he was shooting like absolute dog crap like that night. And they, for them to still win, that was game 1, I think. So I think for them to still win that game, like with him dishing, like it was good on him to realize, man, I'm gonna get my teammates like a little more involved. But he's averaging, Matty, 8.5 assists like per game, nearly 8.5.
Yeah, and no one else is like Draymond has not put up the assist numbers you might have expected.
He's been terrible in this series.
Yeah, Draymond's not catching Tatum. Smart's not going to catch Tatum. Like Tatum's got this now. He's gonna finish the series as the assist leader by a wide margin. So I think that's most of the reason I think he gets MVP ultimately. So there's no bet to make there. But yeah, to go back, what we were kind of alluding to is in the rebound market, Kevon Looney is still the favorite. And I think Looney, Horford, Draymond, and Jaylen Brown have all rebounded similarly enough, those 4 guys, that it's like no one has a significant enough edge that the first 3 games have made any difference. But I think the trend that we talked about before the series and that we're going to continue to see is that Looney's minutes just decrease over time. He plays the most really when Draymond gets in foul trouble, or when the Warriors have a big lead. And I just did not expect this to be a series where the Warriors had too many big leads because the Celtics are better than them. So we saw Looney play only 17 minutes last night. And he is currently the rebound leader, but it's by like 1 or 2 rebounds. And Horford is playing more center because Tice is not playing. And every minute that Looney is not on the floor, Draymond plays center. So I think Draymond at plus 750 to start grabbing more rebounds and ultimately wind up as the leader. Like if there's a bet I'd make now prop wise, it's Draymond plus 750 to lead the series in rebounds. But I do think Jaylen Brown at plus 950 is also live. So those 2 spots, I think both those 2 long shots have some merit. Like I think there is some decent value to both of those guys.
Okay. Hey, would you take under 29.5 points for Steph Curry tomorrow night?
Well, it's funny. I actually picked the under on Curry's points prop in game 3, and I guess he just came in over it.
I think he had what? I think he had around 31, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would go under again. Like he shot pretty well to get there. I think he was just over 50% from the floor. This is just a brutal matchup for him.
Yeah.
And, like the Celtics have actually not played great on him, right? Like the amount of times that there's been a screen and the Celtics haven't helped enough and Curry's just been left wide open. Like for him to only be averaging roughly 30 points in the finals, despite the fact that the Celtics are not guarding him that well, is crazy. Like you would expect he'd be way higher than that considering the way they've played defense. The reason it's not higher, I think, is because on the possessions where the Celtics are locked in, they're just so good that like Curry doesn't get shots off. It's basically either they have a mental lapse where he's open or he doesn't score. Like when they're locked in, it's impossible to score on this defense. Smart and White and even Pritchard a little bit. Like these guys are so good at defending Curry specifically. Like he's just not getting open when they're really paying attention.
It is kind of surprising that like most sports books, including DraftKings Sportsbook, has set like the over under on his point production at like that robust 29.5 for tomorrow night. Like considering like, I don't know if you expect him to be at the top of his game, because if this was the regular season, this is an injury. They're going to rest him for like a game or 2, but this is obviously the NBA finals. And when he was healthy, he was averaging just 26.8 points per game like this postseason. And he's gone under 29.5 in 10 of his 19 playoff games, including that was game 2 in San Francisco.
Right. Yeah. I didn't even mention the foot injury. So of course that's a relevant factor. And then yes, to that point, like Curry's point prop in game 1 was only 27.5. And then in games 2 and 3, I think 28.5 for both of them. Now it's 29.5. So it's going up, which I think is an overreaction to what he's done, because the other thing that I think is worth mentioning is as a series progresses, teams get a better feel for how the other plays and games get lower scoring towards the end of the series, which means if the Warriors score less, Curry's also going to score less. I think we do see him come in around like 25 to 27 the rest of the way. Like basically, if we had to say, what is Curry average from game 4 on? I think it's in the neighborhood of like 25 to 27 points. I don't think it's 30 plus.
Because now, dudes, I'm expecting like Marcus Smart just to be physical as hell with him tomorrow night and bully Steph every chance that he gets.
That'll be fun to watch. Hopefully the refs don't intervene too much. Maybe a little bit, like call the fouls when they're fouls, but like, let's not, because we could get that. This is my biggest fear, is that the refs just say we need a game, we need 2-2 going back to Golden State, and they just call the fouls for Curry that they shouldn't be calling. And it's just going to be hard to watch if that's what happens. I don't expect that to happen. It's just a concern. Like maybe I don't know. I'm just nervous because the Celtics are now up 2-1 in the NBA. Finals. We're almost home. And it's like, what could go wrong? And the officiating is one of the ways this could go wrong.
Okay. Well, speaking of nerves, how nervous are you for your Rangers tonight? You're back at home. Your boys are back home. The series is tied 2-2 against the Lightning here. I think you've won the last 8 games at home. I think you're just a double or triple overtime lost away from winning all 9 games at home like this postseason. So go ahead and tell me right now, what's your gut telling you about tonight with this game? Because I know it means something to you.
Yes, it does. And honestly,
try to be objective, please.
I'm going to really try. I'm just going to like lay out my bias very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm a very big Ranger fan.
Look how nervous you're
but I'm only I'm only the 4th biggest Ranger fan in my family. So like a lot of this is like my own fandom, but then it's like my brothers and my dad and like all these people that like their lives are dependent on it.
Dude.
Metaphorically, of course, but like they're all going to the game. I'm actually not going to this one. I may be, and I probably will go to game 7 if it makes it to game 7. But I am really nervous, and the biggest reason I'm nervous is because of the Rangers' injuries. So they are missing potentially Ryan Strome and Philip Hedl, who are, I guess, their second line and third line centers. The Rangers' lines kind of fluctuate, but they're missing potentially depth down the middle, and that is a position in hockey generally you can't afford to be without. But the Rangers are like as top heavy of a team as there is in the NHL. Like the Avalanche may be playing without Nazem Kadri in the cup. The Avs have backups. Like they have the guys. Kadri's a great player. It may not matter so much even if he doesn't play because they just have so many good players. Kind of like on the Celtics, you took like Horford or Smart off. They can just put White. They can put Robert Williams. Like the Rangers are not that. They are absolutely not that. So missing anybody is a big problem. Hedl's actually been incredibly good in the playoffs. So it doesn't feel like he got hurt last game. Strome actually missed the last game. The Rangers' injuries really scare me. So if those guys play, I feel pretty good about this game, actually.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about the series. But if they don't play, I think we're having an issue.
No. We're not having an issue. We're not. The only issue.
You're about to have an issue, man.
Yeah. The only issue now is Jeff Ulrich.
Does Jeff have an injury update, or is he
Jeff Ulrich? Jeff Ulrich has joined us, everybody. Yeah. And just real quick, Jeff, and I teased this at the top of the show. Matt, what was the inside information you have with one of the goalies tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
This is very important. You got to share it with people because people have been hanging out.
Yeah, Jeff, this is big news. So my brother is 2 blocks away from the Garden about 20 minutes ago and ran into Igor Shesterkin buying coffee at Starbucks.
Okay.
And Igor, apparently, sources say, was muttering to himself that he will not be allowing a goal the rest of the NHL playoffs.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's big.
Sources say.
That's big, Jeff. And he's gonna be all lubed up on caffeine tonight,
Oh, I mean, these goalies, dude. Look, Nikolai Habibulin used to drink and maybe Matt knows who that is.
I do.
Actually, I think.
I love that guy. I have his jersey.
He used to drink like 10 cups of coffee before a game. So, these goalies, man, especially the Russian goalies, they're nuts. But
Ulrich, are the Lightning? What's up? Go ahead, say it.
I think this series is over in 6. I think that the Lightning's forecheck just dominated the Rangers. I think that without the centers and just the deflation of losing game 3 when they were up 2-0, I think that the Lightning coming off their best game, and I just don't think that they're going to let this one go. I still like Colorado in the finals too, even if it does, even without Kadri. But I got to say, I think betting the Lightning to finish this in 6 at like plus 180 on the series line is actually where I would go. You could also even hedge it out if you wanted to. You go to series spread.
Yep.
I actually like that plus 180. I think that's the bet. And
yeah. I just hate
it.
I know. I wouldn't be able to bet it if I was a Rangers fan either. I'm just saying. I feel like
we do agree though, because like if Hedel and Strome aren't playing, I can't disagree with you. Like you are right that the Rangers are in real trouble without those guys. If they play though, I actually like the Rangers as underdogs at home tonight. The home crowd's been so good for the Rangers over this playoffs. And I think it's a better home ice advantage than Tampa has, maybe just slightly. But it's going to come down to who's healthy, because if the Rangers aren't healthy, like Tampa's just better than they are.
It's one of those things, right? Like with what New York has done, I just literally gave off another video talking about this, but with what New York has done playing at home this year, it's almost like you should just be taking them when they're underdogs at home, right?
And they're short underdogs.
I look at those last 2 games, and I kind of see a different Tampa Bay Lightning team. And it's kind of what I expected would happen after they started slow. And so with my expectations now being met, I can't jump back on the Rangers here. So, and I think Vasilevsky also just is looking like, playoff Vasilevsky, which is a big problem for New York. So yeah, I'm mainly going off the last 2 games, and I know Tampa has been a different team on the road in the playoffs, but so I'm kind of going against some of the numbers, but I don't know. I think you got to play the dreaded M word here, the momentum with Lightning.
But Jeff, like until the Lightning can prove they can win in New York, wouldn't you want to keep backing the home side? Again, just a triple overtime loss away from being 9 for 9 inside MSG.
It is, but it's different. Like the Lightning are just different. They're built different. Like with an elite goaltender in the back, like you're not going up against Antti Ranta. The backups for Pittsburgh anymore. It's Vasilevsky, and it's Nikita Kucherov, like playing at the top of his game too. So I don't know. I also do like the under tonight. That's one thing that I don't know. Maybe Matt and I agree on, but
yeah, well, that's been the play, right? The past 3 games too.
Yeah, and I would just stay on it. I mean,
these goalies are the 2 best in hockey. My concern is when you take centers, and we had this right in the Colorado Edmonton game, the closeout game where unfortunately the Oilers lost, but it hit the over pretty easily.
We did hit the over, yeah.
When you take a center out, you're going to lose more defensively than you lose offensively. And if the Rangers are missing 2 of them,
that could be problems.
So like, I don't feel comfortable with the under if those guys aren't playing, but yeah, like I'll give a kind of dated basketball example for this from the regular season, because I think it illustrates the point, just how important I think Hedel and Strome are. So in the regular season, I was routinely saying that someone like Josh Hart was more important to a basketball game than Jimmy Butler, not because Josh Hart is better, but because his backups were G Leaguers on the Portland Trailblazers. So like when you take him off the court, his replacement is a guy who probably is not going to be in the NBA this coming season. When you take Jimmy Butler off the court, you're playing Tyler Hero, Victor Oladipo, more Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson. Like these are good players, or at least average players. So even though Butler's way better, the difference between him and his backups is much smaller. And I think like the analogy is Kadri to the Avs backups is like the Butler situation.
Yes.
But Hedel and Strome to the Rangers guys, like Barclay Goodrow playing injured as the second line center. I mean, my goodness, like it might be a bloodbath if they
the Rangers easily the weakest point is like their bottom 6 and just having that depth. So it's a good point. And it's just another reason why I like Tampa tonight. So
when you think Point plays in game 6? I know he's not going to go tonight. That would be a huge difference.
I think if Tampa wins tonight, I think they'll hold an over to the Stanley Cup. But that's just speculation. I don't know. It does seem like he's going to be good.
Forcing his way out there once they're down. If the Rangers get a 3rd win, right? Maybe then he tries. But until the Rangers get a 3rd win, then he just sits because he won't be 100% yet if he's playing.
Yeah. Okay. And that minus 140 on the under, Jeff, moderate amount of chalk to eat, but past three games have seen exactly 5 total goals. So under bettors have been sweating these games out a little bit.
No, I mean, and look, my favorite bet is still just like the Lightning in the series, but I would still lean under.
So Lightning money line, that's what you like tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, my favorite is, like I said, to take him at plus 180 to finish in 6, and then you can either hedge or just ride it out.
I mean, hell, dude, Matty, Igor could certainly steal this game. 948 save percentage and a 2.04 goals against average through 9 home playoff games. But the Bolts are healthier. I mean, I kind of get like what I'm kind of picking up what Jeff's putting down here. They've got the momentum and, oh, man.
So that's just the last thing to comment here on the health before, because I can't disagree with that. It's painful for me that I have to agree with both of you. But I do think Ryan Strome winds up playing. He's going to be hobbled. I don't think Filipino plays. And that makes it a little more complicated. Like, I probably want to stay away from this game, given those circumstances. But as far as the series line, like, Jeff, do you think Hedl sits multiple games, or you think we're just talking tonight? Because if he's out the rest of the series, then your Lightning prop, your Lightning series line, that looks a lot more appealing.
I mean, if he can't go tonight, I don't know if he's going to be ready for game 6, you know, like, this is a pretty big spot. So if he can't go tonight, it feels like it's like a longer term thing. Yeah, to me, it's not as big a, like, you're definitely right in looking down the lineup. It's not as big a deal to me for game 6 as Hedl. Is he in or is he out? Because I just feel like if it goes back to Tampa, this thing is done. Like, if they're down 3-2. So, but it's a good point, and it's definitely something to observe. But yeah, and Strom, I think Strom is actually like the bigger worry. Like, if he's hobbled, like he plays like 22, 24 minutes a game. Like, if he's not 100%, that's really bad for the Rangers. Yeah. So it's not good news for them. And again, this comes back to the point where I just feel like it's been a really good run, but they played 2 7-game series, had to come back from both. And maybe it's just, and it's kind of like the Oilers. They're both good young teams. They're just not quite there. And, the Rangers have the goaltending. They don't have the depth up front. The Oilers just don't have the goaltending. So,
and shout out, by the way, shout out to Tampa Bay. A big adjustment they made in game 4 was staying out of the box, knowing how damn good the Rangers power play is. It's been the best like this postseason. And they had 2 power plays the last time out, and they did score on one of them, but holding them to just 2 opportunities with the man advantage was a smart move by the Lightning.
I think you're going to see a similar thing happen tonight. Like, just a smart game by a team that's kind of found its legs, but that's just speculation. I mean, again, it is kind of a tough series to figure. Like, the Rangers have just been so good at home. I understand people looking at the numbers just be like, yeah, I'm betting the Rangers. Like,
okay, well, we got I think around like 5 minutes to go, like in this show. And Jeff, since you're here, Maddie, stick around, because the golf, dude, you know what I actually love about this Live Golf PGA Tour, like everyone kind of hating each other and bashing each other, Jeff, is golf has been like leading news programs that I'm watching like on television. It's in the news. It's a topic of conversation on the water cooler, like at work, if you're even going to the office. Like, you saw the PGA Tour today decide to ban players who are playing on Live or suspend them. And then anyone who's going to be next. And then Liv came back and was like, oh, that's like ridiculous. Hey, money, like, come over. Like, what have you made like of the news cycle really over the past like few days? It's been incredible.
No, I mean, I just got off a hockey segment where we talked about golf for 4 minutes, like it's everywhere, right? Like, everyone's got a take on it, and it's just bringing out, it's obviously politically loaded, which is going to bring out takes from everybody, from every corner of the universe and every corner of social media when that happens. But I think that the biggest thing is, when was the last time we saw a big 4, big 5, whatever, big American dominant league actually get under attack? Like, this is like, everyone brings up the wrestling analogy with WCW and WWE, but like, that is actually what this is. It's a huge brand that is like getting challenged. So do I think that like Live is long-term? No, I think the PGA product is actually quite good. I think there's things that they could improve for sure, like showing more golf shots. But I think that the PGA is in a position now where, they're going to be put to the test. They've got to strengthen some stuff up. And I think that Live will expose some of these things. But I think that in the end, it's going to be good. And I think it gets more eyes on golf and about what's going on in golf. So in a weird way, I think this will end up being positive for the PGA. At least I hope it does. because I mean, like, I'm like most people, like, you know, it's an interesting thing that's going on, but I don't really want to see Greg Norman succeed. He just seems like a blowhard most of the time, right? So, you know, I would love to see the PGA, you know, expand, get better from it, but yeah, it's just caught everyone's eye because of the amount of money going on, the where the money's coming from, and it's just creating a lot of talking points. So,
and what the hell are you going to do if someone puts $100 million check like in front of you, or $150 million check? Like, I'm sorry, I saw the great
of the golfers to me makes no sense. It makes no sense, but.
And I don't understand why there are golf media members for the most part are like really butthurt over this. And I'm a little worried about that, because I get why the PGA Tour like doesn't like live golf. Like, it's a competitor, like for sure. But if you widen the lens here, people, like, it's no different than a handful of NBA players who have like a contract with a Chinese shoe company, or, you know, WNBA players who go to Russia for like a bigger paycheck, or a company like Apple benefiting from cheap labor, like abroad. Dude, I'm just like, come on.
If you follow money in any aspect, anywhere, you're going to get to a dark place eventually.
Yeah. Like if your thing is like, oh, it's blood money, it's Saudi Arabia, the US government does business with them too. Like, so like, guys, if I saw a great tweet yesterday, guys, someone said, if you just remove PGA Tour and live golf out of these like stories and put other companies in, it's just like any other business in the world. Like, people will leave for another opportunity where they can make like more money. And that's just it. That's just the way life goes, man. You got to be like competitive out there.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, the criticism of the golfers, I mean, like, some of these guys may not be fan favorites already, or they're kind of like, you know, guys like Patrick Reed or Bryson are really polarizing, but you know, the golfers, I mean, what do you expect them to do? Of course, they're sole proprietors, man. Like, they're just, they're contractors when it comes down to it. Right. So they get a better opportunity. They're going to weigh the pros and cons. And if the money is like really, really way better, of course they're going to look at it. So no, I don't get the criticism of the golfers and the golf media. I mean, you know, you're supposed to be balanced when you're in the media. Like I said, I mean, I think that the PGA is good, and I think there's flaws with it too, but like, you should be looking at what LIV is putting out there and what they're trying to do as well. You have to look past like just it's not just a black and white thing. So I don't get it either. I think there's some people just trying to be loyal because that's where they've had their bread butter their entire career or something. I don't know, but like, some of the reactions are absolutely ridiculous.
I think the tour is just fine having like the media do its bidding, namely shaming for anyone who wants to associate themselves with LIV Golf. But anyway, I'm not here to defend the choice of these guys, and I'm not really here to condemn it either, because it's really easy for all of us to be virtuous, like behind our computer screens and from the stands and whatnot. But hey, put $100 million check in front of me, I'll do whatever you want. All right, we gotta go. Producer Eamon says we have run out of time. Maddie, that was fun, dude. Enjoyed hanging out with you. Jeff, thanks for joining us too, man. Appreciate you. And producer Eamon, AC on the ones and twos behind the scenes. Love you. Mean it. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you tomorrow morning on The Sweat, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Let's talk sports. Peace.